Okay, here we are at the Pine Creek Trailhead. We're about to take off and hike up to Pine Creek Lake and maybe up to Black Mountain if we have time. The first part of the trail into Pine Creek Lake along Pine Creek itself, which you see a little bit of down there, is super mellow. As you see, it's pretty flat, which makes it a very popular destination with locals, because grandparents and little kids and everybody can come here and enjoy a short, mellow hike that's nicely maintained, as you see, into the woods and into the falls, which we'll see in a little bit. And there's a pretty extensive camping ground right around the trailhead. There's also a paved road all the way into the trailhead, which many of the other trailheads around here in the Absaroka Mountains have very rough approach roads, so it's a little bit of a deterrent for many folks. But Pine Creek is not only full of tremendous natural beauty, but is also quite accessible, which makes it popular. Crossing the creek, see, waters are still quite high. A lot of snow melting in the mountains coming down. It's a really nice bridge here. See, it's a pretty sizable creek. Okay, we've been in the National Forest for a little bit, but now we're just coming up to the edge of the Absaroka Beartooth Wilderness, which we're very fortunate to have. The Absaroka and Beartooth Mountains are largely encompassed by the Absaroka Beartooth Wilderness, which is total wilderness. No motorized vehicles of any kind, no improvements, no buildings. It's considered the most pristine wilderness in the lower 48 states of the United States. And it is absolutely beautiful. It is maintained by the U.S. National Forest Service, of course, but also by a private foundation called the Absaroka Beartooth Wilderness Foundation, which raises funds and organizes volunteering groups, etc., to help maintain trails and make sure that the wilderness stays pristine and stays accessible to all of us to enjoy this wonderful public land. It's truly a gift to our nation. Got a lot of little tributary streams coming in here. A lot of these are seasonal, just active in the spring when the snow is melting, all flowing into Pine Creek down the bottom of the valley. Just coming up Pine Creek Falls. This is a favorite picnic spot for many families in the area and tourists. We used to come here a lot when I was a kid. And a lot of people just come to the falls, have a picnic, and then turn around and head back to the trailhead. It's just a nice, easy little jaunt over mostly flat trail, so quite accessible for a large range of people. Beautiful destination. Across the bridge, get a better look at those falls. You see some other folks are here enjoying this beautiful place. A lot of water coming down. All the snow melting. It is the 3rd of July today. Look off the other side. See the creek disappearing down the canyon. We've been basically walking along the creek more or less the whole way up to now. And we'll continue to do that pretty much all the way to the lake. On a little promontory now on the trail, just kind of overlooking the Pine Creek Canyon. You can see there right down to Paradise Valley and the beautiful farmland. Again, you can see how sort of deep Pine Creek Canyon is, and all these very rocky cliffs all around. Upper part of the falls here. See, water goes right down that gorge. lower falls we saw earlier. Climbing up the trail here. Just crossed the creek. Wait, I didn't film that. Had to go across on a couple logs, but it was fine. I used my ski pole, trekking pole for a little balance, which helped. The others, of course, scampered across, no problem. Crossing a bunch more little runoff streams here, and the snow coming down the mountain in the springtime. You can see this is the trail we're on here. It goes around up there. But there are a lot of little shortcut trails here, which are actually not official trails. They are caused by water running off in the spring. When the snow melts, a lot of it just comes running straight down the hill and forms these channels, which unfortunately then people start to use thinking they're shortcuts. Problem is that using them causes more erosion, and you really should stay on the designated trail when you're hiking on trail land, so that you don't rut in something that's really not supposed to be used and basically create more erosion. It's bad for the hillside, makes trail maintenance harder because it'll wash out the sections of the established trail where they cross of little runoff areas. So as tempting as it is to just go straight up some of those cutoffs, it's really proper etiquette for hiking to stay on the designated trail wherever possible. When you're bushwhacking, of course, you're making your own trail, but you're not going where lots of other people are going, so you're not rutting something in, going across an empty hillside. And that should mean that your effect on erosion is really negligible. Rocky part of the path here. Yep. Seems some more alpine tributaries. Back down the valley, all around to the peaks. Trying out my new gimbal again today, which gives me nice, smooth image stabilization. And I tried it the other day. Made all kinds of weird background noises. Very annoying. But the folks, I wrote to tech support, and they gave me a bunch of suggestions of settings to do on my camera. And I ran some tests back home, and it seemed to work. No background noises. So we shall see. Here's another bit of an experiment. We'll see at the end of today if I can detect background noise from the gimbal or not. There's constant background noise from the creek and all the waterfalls, just to be clear. But I don't need any artificial noises coming from the gimbal handle itself. In another little haunted forest up here, where like a fire came through at some point. Hiking along. You can see how thick the stand of woods was at one time. Fire has ravaged so much of this area. I fear with climate change, things are only going to get worse. That's why it's incredibly important to be vigilant in the backcountry. Now, pine trees need fire to reproduce, so inevitably some level of forest fire is going to happen, and in fact is beneficial for the forest. But that said, natural forest fires occur pretty much on a natural cycle. Human-caused forest fires can happen much more regularly, which is why when I was a kid we always made campfires. Nowadays, really, a campfire is not a great idea. Obviously, huge potential for accidental fire spreading use a cook stove for cooking. It's way more effective than a campfire for cooking, and two, is much safer in terms of starting accidental fires. You can turn it 100% off when you're done. You don't have hot embers hanging out through the night, potentially to be whipped up and blown away by a gust of wind. A lot of cascades, falls. Coming up a little bit away from the creek now. The creek is down there, and we're coming up. The trail is moving up, right up along these cliffs. A little bit of a different feel from when we were going through the forest. Very rocky here, as you can see. Cliffs, big talus field over there, and that's up to the upper cirque where the lake is. More switchbacks. Walking along these cliffs. Look pretty cool here. Starting to encounter a little bit of snow now. Little patches. I've come up here when it's been almost impossible thanks to the snow, but I don't think we're going to have that situation today. I think just going to get a few little patches. But we shall see. And we'll deal with it, whatever it is. Once again, been passing a bunch of different kinds of wildflowers along the way. Really very pretty. Tend to be very small when you get up into higher elevations. Camped in this exact spot when I was a young teenager. My father loves to talk about it. Camped with my parents and my sister in this really neat little spot. Not quite to the lake yet, but it's very peaceful here during this, along this stretch of the creek. Coming up a few more snowbanks here at the cross. The snow is pretty soft, a little slippery, not too bad. Yeah, main danger here is just slipping and falling and hurting yourself, of course. Take each step super careful. Place them well. Right on the snow. A view of the creek right in here. Coming up to an upper cascade of the creek, really dramatic, and a little side tributary as well. Pretty darn cool. Well, we're getting up to the lake, which is up in that cirque up there. The high peak directly in front is Black Mountain. And my hope today would be that we would be able to scramble up there, which is you go up a little bit to the side where all that snow is, you get onto the ridge and then across to the actual peak. But I'm a little concerned that the amount of snow we got is going to be a little off-putting. So we'll take a closer look when we get up there, but this may be a little too early season for Black Mountain, especially since we don't have any micro spikes. Or if we had micro spikes for our boots, crampons, it'd be a lot easier. You see the Gallatin Mountains there in the distance on the other side of the Paradise Valley. Down below is the beautiful river bottom of the Yellowstone River called the Paradise Valley, out of very fertile farmland. And on the west side of it there are the Gallatin Mountains. We're on the east side, and the Absarokas here. Coming up to the cirque on the trail here, and up ahead of us is Jewel Lake, which is a little lower part. Up above you see Pine Creek Lake. Just absolutely beautiful spot. Certainly one of my favorites in this whole area. There's a marmot squeaking at us from over here somewhere. Don't see him yet. In amongst the rocks. You hear those squeaks every now and then. A little mushy in here thanks to all the snow melt. Later in the season this is quite dry. Cool little catch ponds of the meltwater. So this is Jewel Lake here. This is Jewel Lake. Pine Creek is just over the horizon there. It goes right up here. I remember it. Just really cool. Oh, there's our little marmot. Where is he? Oh, I see him. He's up on those rocks. Oh, two of them. Two of them climbing up the rocks up there. And squeaking at us. Oh, a third one is lower down in the rock squeaking at us. Just where that big long cascade we were looking at earlier comes out and goes down the hill there. Comes right out here, out of the lake. Let's see. A marmot just came running by, right by Will's feet. Pretty funny. See if we see another one. There seem to be quite a few. That's the fourth marmot we've seen in a very short span of time. This is the lovely Jewel Lake and the cascade coming down from Pine Creek Lake. Right there. It's windy. The wind is definitely picked up here. Yeah, down there. Down there. Up along the side. Those cascades. Let's wait for the group to come. Well, final approach to Pine Creek Lake, the upper lake. A little bit of scrambling over a few rocks. Beautiful view. These cascades here. They go between Pine Creek Lake and Jewel Lake. And we just sort of scramble through a little bit of trees here. Over a few rocks. All fun. And here we are at the lake. Pine Creek Lake is not frozen, as Cottonwood Lake had been. Really so beautiful up in the mountains. Can't get enough of it. Little panorama of the lake. There's the outlet. There's my gang my hiking companions who are very ready for lunch. They are hungry. Somebody else is up here enjoying the day, a little fishing maybe. You can see this incredible mountain cirque that we are in.
Oh, God. Open another waterfall over there, Layla. Where are all the campsites?
Well, we're up at the lake and just finishing up our lunch. Had a really lovely time up. It took us about 3.5 hours of pretty casual going to get up here, and total ascent of 3,500 feet vertical from the bottom, and we've gone a total of 6.66 miles total, including just exploring and scrambling around here at the lakeside a little bit. But really happy to be here. Really happy to get some food. Just an absolutely lovely day in a beautiful, beautiful place. There's a marmot in here somewhere squeaking at us. Not exactly sure where he is. It's hidden in the rocks. We've seen a lot of them up here. We're starting to head back down now, making our way. Same way we came up. See any fuzzy friends looking at us? Nothing. Crossing a lot of lichen-covered talus here. Making our way. Try not to trip. Wildflowers growing in among all the rocks. Really amazing how life finds a way, kind of no matter where you are. Oh, somebody is very close by. Oh, he's right there. I see him. And just squeaking at us. Bit of a hasty retreat down from the top. The wind really picked up. Clouds came through. There was a forecast of a squall right now, so it's not entirely of a potential squall. Not entirely surprising. So, as always, glad we brought our rain gear, which we always do. And it's just sort of spitting rain a little bit on us. A lot of wind, but most importantly, thunder. So we're getting lightning up on top. That is not a place to be in a lightning storm, obviously. So we are just heading down, and here comes the rain a little bit harder now. All part of the fun in the mountains, and why you always want to be prepared. So we are hunkering down under a big tree right at the moment. There's going on. It's hailing here now. Small hail, not killer, but still, it's hailing, and it is, you hear that lightning and thundering. And shortly, if we kept on the trail here, we'd be leaving the woods and getting out onto that talus field, which would be pretty exposed. Yeah, not a good place to be in lightning. So this is, according to the forecast, a short squall, and that's kind of what it looked like when we could see the mountains. We could see the valley from higher up on the mountain. It looked like the cloud was fairly contained. So hopefully it will just pass. We'll wait it out, and we'll be on our way. On our way down, we passed a couple guys who'd hiked all the way up with their downhill skis and had skied down those big snow banks on the flanks of Black Mountain. Yeah, we just took a little break to delayer, take off our rain jackets and warmer layers. The rain has stopped, blue sky is out again, and the storm has passed, and we're getting warm. It's amazing how that happens. Storm can blow up in no time in the mountains and then pass very quickly. You never know. Got to be prepared for everything. And keep an eye on the weather as best you can. good headway on our way down. A little bit of cloud cover. The wind just started picking up a second ago. Seemed like maybe we're in for a blow, but it's not too bad right now. Just a little gust. Just about to the creek crossing here. Didn't film it on the way up, but I'm going to try to film it on the way down so we can remember it. Traffic jam here. There's some water coming down. There it is, leaving us. Keep on heading down. A lot of moss on these old trees here. It's really cool. I like that. You can see here up close on this fallen tree, just a tremendous amount of moss all in there. Well, we're just coming up to the very end of our hike here, just about back to the trailhead. Just hiking in the final little bit, and I've had a great day. Got a little wind, rain, hail, thunder and lightning, but mostly sunshine. Really absolutely beautiful, incredible hike up to one of my favorite spots, Pine Creek Lake. Beautiful lunch on the shores of the lake, just fantastic. The timing all worked out great, and we were able to get down off the shores of the lake before lightning hit. Perfect. And the second little storm that was forecast for today looks like it's just coming in now, exactly on time, just as we're about to get into the car. So timing couldn't be better. Yet another wonderful day in the mountains. Always love it. Here's a fat map replay of our trip. This is the long, mellow approach at the bottom, and coming up to the falls and the little bridge we crossed. Then up a bunch of switchbacks to the upper Cascades there. For a little bit we went on the wrong trail for a sec, then crossed the creek up to the other side, a bunch more switchbacks, then through that burned out piece of the forest. And then here we're going up through that big exposed talus field up closer to the cliffs. Finally approaching the lakes and seeing that huge long cascade from Jewel Lake down to that little pond, and then over to the shores of Pine Creek Lake where we had lunch and took some photos, etc. And then we went back down the exact same route we came up. You can see the discrepancies in GPS readings here because the lines are not lining up, even though we were walking on exactly the same trail on the way down.